You're standing at the top of the lane. The ball feels heavier than it did a year ago. Your knees are asking you a question you don't want to answer, and here's the truth almost nobody tells you. You can bowl better at 75 than you did at 55, not with strength, with something an older generation understood and we forgot. I found it hidden in a coaching manual from the 1940s, written by a champion who never lifted weights in his life. It costs you nothing. No new ball, no gadget, no membership. Just a way of moving your body that we quietly traded away. I remember standing at lane 7 at Parkview Lanes on a slow Tuesday morning, watching a man who had to be 90 roll strike after strike, and I could not understand how his arm barely seemed to move. By the end of this, you'll understand exactly what he was doing, and you'll be able to do it too. For a long time, I did everything wrong. I thought bowling was about muscle. I thought if the ball felt heavy, I just needed to grip harder and throw harder. So that's what I did. I picked the 15-pound ball off the rack because that's what the younger fellows used, and I heaved it down the lane with everything my shoulder had left. My scores were terrible. My arm ached for 2 days after every game. And worst of all, I started to feel that little voice we all dread. The voice that says, maybe you're getting too old for this. Maybe it's time to hang it up. That voice is a liar. But I believed it for almost 3 years. Here's the first thing I got completely backward, and I'd bet money you have it backward too. The weight of the ball. Every single time I walked into that bowling alley, I reached for a heavier ball than I could handle, because somewhere in my head I had this idea that a light ball was for children and a heavy ball was for serious bowlers. That idea nearly ended my bowling life, and it's dead wrong. Let me give you the real numbers, because this is where it clicked for me. A regulation bowling ball can weigh up to 16 pounds. 16. Most men my age grab something between 14 and 15 without thinking twice. But here's what the old coaches knew that the pro shops don't rush to tell you. The ideal ball weight for accuracy is not about your strength at all. It's about what you can swing smoothly without your muscles fighting it. There's an old rule of thumb that goes back generations. Your ball should be roughly 1/10 of your body weight, but for anyone over 70, you drop from there, not toward it. When I finally swallowed my pride and picked up a 10-pound ball, something remarkable happened. My arm stopped hurting, my aim got better, and my score went up 11 pins in a single afternoon. 11 pins, just from admitting I didn't need to prove anything with a heavy ball. Now think about what that means for your hands. Our grip strength changes as we age. That's not weakness, that's just biology. When you fight a ball that's too heavy, you squeeze the finger holes to keep control, and that squeezing is exactly what wrecks your wrist and your elbow. The lighter ball lets your hand relax. And a relaxed hand is an accurate hand. I wish somebody had told me that at 55. I'd have saved myself years of soreness and a whole lot of embarrassment, but lightening the ball was only the first door. Because once my arm stopped screaming, I noticed something even stranger about how I was moving, and that's where this story really turns. Once I switched to the lighter ball, I could finally pay attention to my own body instead of just surviving the throw. And what I noticed made me feel a little foolish. I was muscling the swing, every part of it. I was lifting the ball up, pushing it forward, and yanking it down like I was starting an old lawnmower. My whole upper body was tense from the second I picked up that ball until the second it left my hand. That's when I remembered the man at lane 7, the 90-year-old. His arm barely moved. It just sort of fell and rose, like the pendulum on my grandmother's old clock. That word turned out to be the whole secret, pendulum. Here's the history, and it's worth knowing because it tells you why we lost this. Back in the 1930s and 40s, there was a bowling champion named Ned Day. He was one of the most famous bowlers in America, and people traveled just to watch him because his form looked so effortless it almost seemed lazy. He wasn't lazy. He understood physics better than most people who never studied it. Ned Day taught that the arm should hang loose from the shoulder like a rope with a weight on the end. You don't throw the ball. You let gravity throw it for you. Your job is simply to let go of the muscle and let the ball fall, swing back, and swing forward on its own. Think about that. Gravity is free. Gravity never gets tired. Gravity works exactly as well when you're 80 as it did when you were 30. That's the great equalizer nobody talks about. Here's exactly how you do it, And you can practice this at home in your living room with no ball at all. Stand up straight. Let your bowling arm hang down at your side, completely loose. Now, without tensing anything, let it swing gently backward and let it fall forward on its own. Backward, forward. Feel how the weight of your own arm carries it. That's the motion. That's the entire secret of a good bowling swing. When you add the ball, you do the same thing. You let the weight of the ball pull your arm back into the backswing, and then you simply let it fall. You do not lift it. You do not push it. You get out of its way. The first time I truly did this, the ball rolled down the lane smoother than anything I'd thrown in years, and it made a sound coming off my hand that I'd never made before. A quiet roll instead of a loud thud. Now here's the number that stunned me. When your swing is a true pendulum, the ball actually travels faster and straighter than when you throw it with your arm, because human muscle is jerky and inconsistent, but gravity is perfectly smooth every single time. The professionals measured this decades ago. The effortless swing beats the powerful swing every time. So why did we forget this? Why did I spend 3 years heaving a ball like a fool when a champion figured this out before I was even born? That's the question that started to make me angry. Because the more I looked into it, the more I realized this wasn't an accident. Somebody benefited from me thinking bowling was about strength and expensive equipment. Let me tell you what I started to notice. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Walk into most bowling alleys today, and the whole place is designed to make you feel like you need to spend money to enjoy yourself. There's the pro shop by the entrance, selling custom balls that cost more than my first car payment. There are the ball drilling services, the wrist supports, the special shoes, the gloves, the powders, and the tapes, and hovering over all of it is this quiet message. If your game isn't good, you must be missing some product. I fell for it. I bought the wrist brace, I bought the fancy glove, I even paid to have a ball custom drilled to my hand, and you know what? None of it fixed the real problem, because the real problem was never my equipment. It was the fact that nobody ever taught me the free fundamentals that Ned Day knew in 1940. Here's the part that really gets me. The forgotten knowledge doesn't cost anything, so nobody has a reason to advertise it. There's no company that gets rich teaching you to relax your arm and let gravity do the work. There's no product to sell you when the answer is to buy a lighter ball and stop straining. Free wisdom has no salesman, so it goes quiet. It gets pushed to the back of the shelf, behind everything, with a price tag. And it's not just the equipment, it's the whole idea we've been sold about aging in this game. How many times have you heard someone suggest that bowling is too hard on the joints for people our age? That we should switch to something gentler? That maybe our bowling days are behind us? That message serves somebody. It just doesn't serve you. Because here's the truth, the research actually shows, and I want you to hear this clearly. Bowling is one of the best activities a person over 70 can do. The National Institute on Aging has been telling us for years that the two things that keep older adults independent are balance and staying active on our feet. And there is almost no better balance exercise than the controlled step and swing of bowling. Consider this sobering figure. According to public health data, roughly 1 in 4 adults over the age of 65 falls each year, and a fall is one of the fastest ways any of us loses our independence. What protects you from falling? Balance. Coordination. The ability to shift your weight smoothly from one foot to another while your arm is in motion. That is bowling. That is literally what a bowling approach trains over and over in a safe indoor space with a smooth floor and something to hold on to if you need it. So the very game that some people say we're too old for is, in fact, one of the smartest things we can do to stay young. That made me furious once I understood it. All those years I nearly quit, thinking my body was failing, when the game was actually the thing that could keep my body working. But knowing bowling is good for me wasn't enough. I still had to fix my feet, because a beautiful pendulum swing is useless if your feet are working against it. And that's where I made my next discovery. Here's something nobody warned me about. My arm wasn't my biggest problem. My feet were. I used to just walk up to the line any old way, sometimes 3 steps, sometimes 5, sometimes I'd shuffle and hop at the end like I was trying to catch a bus. and I couldn't figure out why the same swing gave me such different results every time. The answer is timing. Your feet and your arm have to work together like two dancers who've been partners for 50 years. And the older generation had a simple, reliable system for this that got buried under all the modern complications. It's called the four-step approach. Let me walk you through it, because this is one of those things that sounds almost too simple to matter, and yet it changes everything. You start with the ball held up around your waist, 4 steps to the foul line. Here's the timing that makes it magic. On your very first step, you gently push the ball out and let it start to drop. On your second step, the ball swings down past your leg. On your third step, the ball swings back into the backswing. And on your fourth and final step, which is a smooth slide, the ball swings forward and releases. And that's exactly why I sat down and wrote everything I'd learned so nobody could quietly take it from you again. What you're getting in this video is real and it works, but there's only so much I can walk you through out loud. On paper, I could go deeper on the things that actually hold a senior bowler back at the lane, how to loosen the death grip that kills your ball early, how to hold your line to the foul line using boards and your own feet, and how to stop leaving those open frames that eat your average week after week. Over 340 pages of it, written for men who bowl with a house ball or an old one and have no interest in buying new gear. The forgotten pendulum mechanics that let gravity do what your wrist used to do, laid out step by step so you can bring back the hook you lost with the same ball you already own. If you want it, scan the QR code right there on your screen, link in the description, pinned comment, and the books are yours. Now, back to why this game is better for you than anyone admits. Push, down, back, and roll. 4 steps, 4 parts of the swing, all matched together. Why 4 steps? Because it naturally matches the rhythm of the pendulum. The ball takes a certain amount of time to swing back and forward under gravity, and 4 ordinary walking steps happen to match that timing almost perfectly for most people. The old coaches figured this out through decades of watching what worked. It's not a rule someone invented, it's a rhythm the human body falls into naturally when you stop fighting it. Now here's the detail that saved my knees. That last step is not a stomp. It's a slide. Your final foot glides toward the line, and your body sinks down into a gentle bend, like you're lowering yourself into a comfortable chair. That slide is what protects your joints. When I was stomping and stopping hard, all that force went straight into my knee. When I learned to slide, the force went into the floor instead, where it belongs. And this is where balance comes back into the picture, because that sliding finish, with one leg back behind you for counterbalance, is exactly the kind of controlled weight shift that keeps you steady on your feet everywhere else in life. Getting out of the car, stepping off a curb, reaching into a high cupboard, the same muscles, the same balance. You are training your independence every time you slide up to that line. Now, I know exactly what some of you are thinking right now, because I thought it too. You're thinking this all sounds fine for people who can afford to spend afternoons at the bowling alley, but money is tight and every game costs and the shoe rental costs, and it adds up fast when you're living on a fixed income. I hear you. And this next part is made for exactly you, because the single most important thing I've told you so far costs absolutely nothing, and you can do it in your own home starting tonight. Here it is. You can practice the entire 4-step approach and the pendulum swing in your living room, in your hallway, or in your kitchen with no ball, no shoes, and no lane. This is what the old-timers actually did, and it's what I do now 3 or 4 times a week between games. You stand at one end of a room, you hold an imaginary ball at your waist, or if you want a little weight, hold a can of soup or a small water bottle in your swinging hand. Then you practice the 4 steps in the swing, slow and smooth. Push, down, back, and slide, over and over. You're teaching your body the rhythm so that when you do get to the lane, your muscles already know the dance. I promise you this, 20 minutes of practicing that approach in your hallway will do more for your bowling than an hour of frustrated throwing at the alley. And it costs you nothing but the time, which, let's be honest, at our age is the one thing we finally have plenty of. There's more you can do for free. Practice the pendulum swing while holding onto the back of a sturdy chair with your other hand. That gives you the balance support to really feel the loose, gravity-driven motion without worrying about tipping. Practice your slide step on a smooth kitchen floor in your stocking feet, using the counter for support. You are building the exact muscle memory you'll use at the lane, and you're improving your balance at the same time, which means you're protecting yourself from falls while you practice a game. And when you do go to the alley, go on the cheap mornings. Nearly every bowling center in the country has senior rates, and many run special morning hours where a game costs a fraction of the evening price. Some offer senior leagues where the whole morning, shoes included, costs less than a single fancy coffee. I bowl 3 games on a Tuesday morning for less than I used to spend on lunch. The expensive part of bowling is entirely optional. The valuable part is nearly free. So don't let anyone, including that little voice in your head, tell you this game isn't for people like us. It was practically built for people like us. It just got dressed up in expensive clothes so we'd forget how simple and cheap the heart of it really is. Now, if you've stayed with me this far, you've earned the real secret. The one I found buried in that old manual. The one thing that took my game from embarrassing to actually good, and that not one person in 10 at the bowling alley understands. Here's what I want you to picture. When you bowl, where are your eyes looking? If you're like I was for most of my life, you're staring straight down the lane at the pins, way down there, 60 feet away. You're trying to aim the ball at the pins by looking at the pins because that seems like the most obvious thing in the world. Aim at what you want to hit. And that, my friend, is the single biggest mistake in all of bowling. It's why your ball wanders. It's why you can't repeat a good shot. And almost nobody will tell you why. Let me tell you where I found the answer. It was in an old coaching book, the kind of practical instruction manual that champions of the 1950s and 60s wrote before everything got complicated. The great ones, going back to Ned Day and carried on by champions like Dick Weber, all taught the same forgotten method. It's called spot bowling, and once you understand it, you will never bowl the old way again. Here's the idea, and it's beautifully simple. Look closely at a bowling lane, and you'll see a set of arrows on the wood, arranged in a triangle. There are 7 of them, and here's the crucial part. Those arrows are not way down by the pins. They sit only about 15 feet past the foul line, close to you, well within your comfortable eyesight. The pins are 60 feet away. The arrows are 15 feet away. Which target do you think your eyes and your body can aim at more accurately? The one 4 times closer, of course. The old champions understood a truth that modern players forget. It is far easier to roll a ball accurately over a spot close to you than to aim it at a target far away. It's the same reason a carpenter marks a line close to the saw instead of staring at the far edge of the board. You control the beginning of the path, and the ball takes care of the rest. Here is exactly what you do, and this is the whole method, so listen closely. Forget the pins. Don't look at them at all when you swing. Instead, pick one arrow. For most right-handed bowlers, you want the second arrow from the right. That arrow sits on what bowlers call the 10th board, and it lines up beautifully with the pocket, that sweet spot between the head pin and the pin just behind it to the right, where strikes are born. You line up your feet, you fix your eyes on that second arrow, and you simply roll the ball so it travels directly over that arrow. That's it. You don't aim at the pins. You aim at the arrow 15 feet in front of you, and you trust the ball to carry your accuracy the rest of the way down the lane. The lane, by the way, has 39 boards across it, each about an inch wide, and once you start thinking in terms of hitting a specific board over a specific arrow, your mind has something small and close and precise to focus on. Suddenly you're not hoping, you're aiming. The first time I truly committed to this, I stopped looking at the pins entirely. It felt wrong. Every instinct screamed at me to look at what I wanted to knock down. But I kept my eyes locked on that second arrow, rolled the ball smooth over it with my loose pendulum swing, and I heard the crash of a strike without ever having looked at a single pin. I did it again and again. For the first time in my life, I could repeat a good shot on purpose, because I finally had a target I could actually hit. My average jumped more in 1 month of spot bowling than it had in 10 years of staring at the pins. Think about how this brings everything together. The lighter ball, so your hand stays relaxed. The pendulum swing so gravity does the work instead of your tired muscles. The four-step approach so your feet keep time with your arm. And now the spot, close and clear, so your eyes have a target they can trust. 4 simple pieces, every one of them free, every one of them known by the champions of 70 and 80 years ago, and every one of them buried under a mountain of expensive nonsense. This is the knowledge that existed, that was pushed aside because nobody could sell it to us, that a few old coaches kept alive in dusty manuals, and now it's yours. You can walk into any bowling alley this weekend, pick a lighter ball off the rack, take 4 smooth steps, let your arm fall like a pendulum, keep your eyes on that second arrow, and watch the pins fly. I did it, a man who nearly quit the game in shame. If I can do it, so can you. Here's what I really want you to take from all of this. You didn't lose your game because you got old. You lost it because somebody let you believe it takes strength and money when it actually takes rhythm and a target 15 feet away. You just took back something that was quietly taken from you, and that's who you are. You're the kind of person who trusts what actually works over what somebody's trying to sell. You'd rather know the real secret a champion used in 1940 than buy the shiny gadget in the pro shop window. So this weekend, go find a lane on a cheap morning and try it. Prove it to yourself. Now I want to hear from you. When you go, keep your eyes on that second arrow, the one on the 10th board, and tell me what happens. Did your ball find the pocket? Did you feel the difference the moment you stopped staring at the pins? Leave me a comment and tell me your score before and after. I read every single one, and I want to know if it worked for you the way it worked for me. And if you believe, like I do, that the best wisdom is the kind our generation already knew and simply forgot, then come join us. Subscribe and stand with the folks who are quietly reclaiming the practical knowledge that keeps us sharp, steady, and independent. Because next time, I'm going to show you the simple morning balance routine that the same generation of athletes used to stay on their feet well into their 90s, and one part of it takes less than 60 seconds a day right beside your own bed. You won't want to miss what it does for your walking. I spent years thinking my best days at the lane were behind me. They weren't. They were just waiting for me to remember something we never should have forgotten. Now go roll a strike. Before you go, let me tell you where this goes next. This video showed you the idea, but inside my membership you get the full relaxed swing method, right where we left off. And you can ask me your own question, and a real person, me, answers you myself. You won't be doing this alone here in the Wise Living Circle. Just point your phone's camera at the code on the screen, and you can cancel anytime, no risk at all. Now, the right ball can make all of this so much easier on your arms. Let me show you the ones that roll smoother and help you strike without the strain. It's starting right here.